What is going on, everybody? What is going on? What is going on? First and foremost, before we get started, if you would like to hit that subscribe button, hit the post notification bell so you'll know whenever I put out any content. It's officially week one. The The Chiefs and Lions kick us off Thursday night, and this Sunday is our first regular season Sunday for the 2023 NFL season. So, gonna be doing something I've done a few times over the past few years, NFL picks back on my channel this year, but in kind of a different way. Because in years past, I would just give my pick without actually giving a reason of maybe why I picked a certain team to win a game. It's not going to be any like a bookie-ish title or following all random, crazy, stupid guidelines to picks. Just giving my picks, giving a little bit of insight as to why I think a team might win. And this is how we're going to roll for all 18 weeks, as well as the playoffs. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. And let's get right into it. Week one, opening night, Thursday, September 7th, the Detroit Lions head to Kansas City to take on the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs. There is a lot of hype going into Detroit this year. I think we all know it. The Lions are coming off of a very impressive end to last season, and there is hype for the Lions, and they are the favorites in the NFC North to win their first division title in over 3 decades. But they did not get set up very well here opening up the season. Having to go to Arrowhead, the Chiefs, it's their opening night ceremony, Super Bowl champions. They're raising the banner. The environment is, you already know, in Arrowhead. It's going to be electric. And even though I think you got to like what the Lions are putting together, I don't think it is enough to win the game. I will say, I think Detroit can keep this game close throughout. I really do. However, I think this is going to come down to experience. Who has been here in this spot? That is obviously Kansas City. Now, one thing I would be concerned about with Kansas City is Chris Jones. It does not look like he's playing Thursday night. He is saying he will hold out until week 8 if he does not get a contract extension. And that's a thing with several defensive linemen, pass rushers we see going into this season. But even with that, Kansas City at home, you do not bet against Mahomes and Reed, especially in Arrowhead. Opening night, the Lions still have to get accustomed to this environment. Give me Kansas City. Close ball game. It's going to be nothing too out of hand. Probably about 27-22 is what I think the final score will be. But the Chiefs start off their season 1-0. Moving into Sunday. Sunday, September 10th. Opening Sunday for the NFL. First game we're going to cover. Matchup in the AFC North. There are several division matchups we see here in week one, which I think a lot of people have mixed feelings on. I don't think it's a bad idea, really. I think starting off with a bang is the way I like to see it. The Cincinnati Bengals and Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati obviously has been the powerhouse of the AFC North the past 2 seasons. They are once again viewed as a favorite to come out of the AFC and maybe even go all the way and finally win their first Super Bowl. The Browns acquired Deshaun Watson last offseason. He wasn't able to play most of last year. Kevin Stefanski is going into, I believe, his 4th year as head coach. You have Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, all the pieces in Cleveland, Myles Garrett on defense. This is matching up to be a very great game, in my opinion. I think not many people are talking about this game, and this game should be getting a lot more attention than it is. I think it's going to be an offensive shootout. I know there's a question mark as to will Joe Burrow will play. I think he will. You got to have your guy out there if he has any chance of playing. Obviously, that connection with him, Chase, Higgins. We already know about it. But Deshaun Watson, if he can return to that form we saw in Houston, Cleveland could be a very dangerous team. He gets that connection going with Amari Cooper. The weapons they got, Njoku. Obviously, Nick Chubb is still there. And you look at that defense, Myles Garrett, and they're in the dog pound. I'm going to give this one to Cleveland. I think this is going to end up being the game of the week. Very high scoring, 34-32. Cleveland probably wins. Last second field goal. One of many, here's the thing about week one that I don't think a lot of people really understand, but it happens every year, but we just tend to forget the following week one. Week one and the final week of the season are the 2 weeks you don't know what is going to happen. A team that, because there's the most uncertainty. You don't know what a team looks like. It's the first official game for everybody. First regular season game. Division game at home. I'm giving this one Cleveland in a shootout. Now, the next game, I don't think there's really much of a question about. Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. Houston, I think, is setting themselves up for a bright future with C.J. Stroud. They obviously added some weapons this offseason. Dameon Pierce. Will Anderson on defense. But Baltimore is far and away the better team. They are ready to win. I'm going to go ahead and say if there is any game I would be confident in saying is a win, it's this one right here. I think Baltimore comes out. They are at home in Baltimore. I think they come out. They crush Houston. Houston is a young team. They still have to get accustomed to everything. This is C.J. Stroud's first NFL game. And I wouldn't want to be facing the Baltimore Ravens in my first NFL game. Obviously, they still have that defense, Roquan Smith in the middle of it, Lamar Jackson on offense. That Ravens offense is very hyped up. They think they can do great things. Will they? What they're saying with 6,000 yards, it ain't happening. But OBJ, Zay Flowers, who I think has a lot of potential there in Baltimore. Obviously, we know the threat Lamar has with his legs. I think the Ravens come out, smack Houston in the mouth week one. Next game coming up. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Minnesota Vikings. Tampa Bay won a very lackluster NFC South last year in Tom Brady's final season. He is now retired. He is no longer in Tampa Bay, and they're going up to Minnesota. This is not a nice first game in the post-Tom Brady era, especially Minnesota. It's a 1 o'clock game. We know that's what they always succeed with. They have Justin Jefferson, and he's looking to get that extension. Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, who just got paid. There's a lot of nice weapons on Minnesota's offense. The one thing I do not like about Minnesota is that running back room. I think outside of Alexander Madison, I really can't name anybody in that running back room. And I think that O-line has a lot of uncertainty as well. That could be Tampa Bay's saving grace if they can get pressure on Kirk Cousins. But it's in Minnesota. The Skull Chant, it's going to be rocking. It is not a good first game for Baker and the Bucs. I think Minnesota actually comes out, and I think they're going to roll here. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be able to really get much of anything on offense, even with Evans, who I don't know if he's really going to be there much longer, and Chris Godwin. Even with those two, you assume they'll be on the field at the same time week one. I still think Minnesota is far and away should win this game. Next game, my game. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this game, because I'm going to save that for the game preview later this week. Carolina at Atlanta. I think if you're a Falcons or Panthers fan, you know what the story is here. Bryce Young's first NFL game. Bijan Robinson's first NFL game. Frank Reich's first year as Carolina head coach. We made a lot of acquisitions this offseason in Atlanta. Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell, Caden Ellis. You go up and down the chart. On Yamada, we're at home week one. And this situation developing with Brian Burns, could be very dangerous for Carolina. If they do not have him out on that field week 1, which it's looking likely he might not be on that field, this could go very bad for Carolina. But it is a division game. It is week 1. You don't know what to expect out of either team. I'm going to give Atlanta the win. Are you shocked? But I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to the final seconds. 23-20, I think, is about the range you can expect in this game. Falcons pick up the win. Go to 1-0 for the first time. First time we have a winning record at all in the past 5 years. It's time to do that Sunday. Next game. This is probably going to be the most boring game, least intriguing game of opening weekend. The Arizona Cardinals, who are an absolute mess this year, going into Washington and facing a Commanders team with a lot of uncertainties. But one thing about Washington, they're getting to your quarterback. And even though this is a very boring game I think you're going to be looking at, I think Washington probably steamrolls Arizona just because they don't even know who they're starting at quarterback. I mean, really, I think giving them 8 points might be generous here. I think Washington wins here, opens up their season 1-0. Next game, the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts. Another rookie quarterback debut, Anthony Richardson. He's getting the nod week 1 for Indianapolis. Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, coming off of a division title last year, a great playoff win versus the Chargers. I think Jacksonville's taken that next step. I would no doubt expect Trevor Lawrence to be in the MVP conversation. I think Ridley's going to come back this year and do wonders for Jacksonville. Evan Ingram, I believe they still have. Christian Kirk, a Jacksonville defense that is really up and coming. I think the Jaguars take this one here in Indianapolis. It's their first game. I like the direction Indianapolis is heading in, but I think they need 1 year. I think they need 1 year to get it all together. I think Anthony Richardson, he's going to have his flashes, but he's also going to have his hiccups. And that is going to cost Indianapolis against a Jacksonville team that is hungry to take that step up and make a run in the AFC. Next game, the San Francisco 49ers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The biggest game for the biggest story for San Francisco heading into this game is Nick Bosa. Are they going to get him out on that field? The clock is ticking. It really is. And they have to get an extension done within the next, in my opinion, 48 to 72 hours. If he does not, he's probably not playing Sunday. And even if he is playing, Pittsburgh, week 1, we talk about it. Upsets. They happen week 1. The 49ers do not tend to do that well week 1. I'm going to have to give this one to Pittsburgh. I think they've made improvements. They're a hungry team. They're ready to get back into it in the AFC. The terrible towels will be going in Heinz Field or whatever they call it now. Pickett in his second year, I think they're going to make enough plays. Going to be another one that comes down to the wire. But in the end, Pittsburgh gets it, and they start 1-0 on the season. 49ers will drop to 0-1. Next game coming up, Tennessee Titans at the Saints. You know, Tennessee, you really get that feel that they're trying to make that one last run, but I don't see it happening. They could get second in that division, although I would probably give that nod to Indianapolis right now. And the Saints, they're right here with us in the NFC South, the Falcons. I think it's going to be Saints and Falcons for the NFC South throughout this entire season. I hate the Saints, but I got to give them the win here. I think it's probably going to be another close game. New quarterback in Derek Carr with New Orleans. Is Michael Thomas finally going to be able to stay healthy? You know, Olave. Kamara suspended the first few games. A lot of new pieces on that Saints defense, but they're in the dome, and that is a difference maker. And that is where I think New Orleans will edge Tennessee out, get the win, and move to 1-0. Next game, we move into our late window, 4:25 Eastern. The Raiders at the Broncos. Sean Payton's first game as Denver head coach. And I think it's going to be a rough one to watch. I really do. I do not like the Raiders this year. I could really honestly see them being in Caleb Williams' contention. Even though they still have Adams, I like Tyree Wilson. I really wanted him. They got Josh Jacobs back with the team, but it is in Denver. I think that is a difference maker. And the bottom line is this, the silver lining is Sean Payton is the head coach. I think Denver's going to come out week one and get a sloppy 19-13 win. A win is a win, but there's definitely going to be a lot to improve on for Denver. They have a lot of injuries, but I think the silver lining is that the Raiders are not a good football team, and this is a win that you can pick up week one. Next game we got the Philadelphia Eagles, defending NFC champions, at the New England Patriots. I think it's going to be another really good game. Obviously, New England does not do well week one. Philadelphia, how will they respond coming out of that Super Bowl loss versus Kansas City? I think it's going to be a tight and close game, but I think it's going to be one in the end Philadelphia gets. I think it's going to be a lot of these games week one are going to come down, final possession, overtime, whatever you want to call it how it is. I really honestly feel like a lot of these games, some of these games, maybe that shouldn't be close, will end up being close. But I think Philadelphia ultimately wins. I'll take their guys on offense and defense any day over New England. I think New England is heading on the downward trajectory. This could very well be Belichick's final year there in New England. Here as a coach in the NFL, arguably the greatest coach of all time. Definitely, I think the most historic coach of our generation. Could this be his final year? And Philadelphia is looking to make it back to the Super Bowl. They're a hungry team. They're wanting to get back there. I think they're going to edge this one out. Next game, the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle at home in Lumen Field or the Clink, whatever you think of it as. There with the 12s, it's going to be rocking. Last time I checked, a lot of Seattle's rookies were banged up. I don't know if they're playing or not. However, what I also know about the Rams, Cooper Kupp, it doesn't look like he's going to be playing either. However, this is a division game, and especially in this matchup, the Rams seem to play Seattle so tough. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. It doesn't matter what the situation might be. They're always going to play the Seahawks tough. And with this being week one, I feel like this is going to be the perfect case. That game you're not expecting to go one way is going to go that way. I think this is the upset of the week. I think there's several upsets that are going to happen this week, but I think this will probably be the biggest upset of them all. I'm going to give the Rams the W. I think it's going to be a close game, could lean more into the low-scoring battle, but I just think the Rams, they have Matthew Stafford back. I know they don't have Kupp, but they still have Cam Akers. I believe they still have Cam Akers. But one way or another, regardless of what the situation is, division matchup, you can't count any team out. I think this is going to be one of those situations. The Rams go into Seattle, and they pick up a shocking win over the Seahawks. Next one, the Miami Dolphins at Los Angeles Chargers. Two teams who have a lot of hope in the AFC coming into this season. Two high-powered offenses. However, I feel like with Miami, if they are able to stay healthy, I think particularly Tua, not even Miami, but Tua, if he can stay healthy, they could be a very dangerous team in the AFC. And the Chargers, I like Herbert. I like the weapons. I like the pieces there, but I don't like the coaching. I think the coaching could be their detriment in many games this season. This, I think, could very well be one of them. I'm going to give this one to Miami with the weapons, Waddle, Hill. I want to say they picked up a tight end this offseason. His name isn't exactly with the moment. Or maybe I know they lost Mike Gesicki. Maybe they didn't pick up a tight end. A-Chain there at running back. He is a very explosive option. I just think it all comes down to his health. But I think they're going to go in here, and I think Waddle and Hill are going to be the two that really carry them to victory here week 1. Next one, the Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears. The rivalry that the NFL hypes up as the most historic one takes another step here in week 1. Another chapter is written. And even though Aaron Rodgers is not there in New York anymore, the Bears did make a lot of acquisitions this offseason with DJ Moore. They got Fields there. Is he going to take that next step his third year? I think Green Bay is going to come out and shock a lot of people this year. I think they're going to shock the Bears here. And I think they'll blow them out of the water week 1, to be honest with you. I don't think Chicago is really going to see this one coming. I expect Green Bay to go in there with weapons like Christian Watson. They still have Aaron Jones, Romeo Doubs. And listen, this is Jordan Love has to show something. He's been sitting for 3 years now. There is no reason why he should not show something. I know the Bears haven't won against Green Bay in 5-6 years. I don't think that's changing right here, to be honest with you. I still think the Bears, they're going to have to take some time to gel. I think they have potential to maybe sneak out in the NFC this year as a wild card team. But here, week 1, Green Bay just seems to have their number. Even without Aaron Rodgers, I don't see that changing here. I think Green Bay gets a big W here. Next game, Sunday Night Football, our first Sunday Night Football of the season. We've been waiting all day for Sunday night. And now that the New York Football Giants made it back to the playoffs last season, they have finally found a reason to put this game on Sunday Night Football. Once again, week 1, the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Football Giants. Saquon, was he going to be with the team this season? He is. The Cowboys just traded for Trey Lance. You mean to tell me Dak's seat isn't hot there? Really? I think that this is going to be I think this could definitely be a close game. But in the end, the upset week 1, not a lot of people are expecting New York to win. I think they do. I think 26-13. I think they'll muscle away late with the victory. I think Saquon will probably carry them. I think Daniel Jones, I think he's going to do just enough, not screwing the game up, giving it to Saquon Barkley. I think they're going to lean heavy into him this game. Darren Waller as well. Dexter Lawrence on defense for the Giants. He is absolutely going to wreak havoc for Dallas. And I think the Giants end up winning this one. So now, final game, September 11th, 9/11, 22nd anniversary of 9/11, ending the night off with the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets in MetLife, the second straight night for the conclusion of week 1. And obviously the biggest story is Aaron Rodgers. He wants to be in New York. The Jets think they have the team. They think they can go on a run. Buffalo have been the gatekeepers of that division since Tom Brady left. But I think with the hype around the Jets, and I think with Aaron Rodgers, the Jets believe it. The Jets believe that they are a good team and they are hyped up. I know it's a very risky situation. You don't know how it's going to turn out. However, I'm going to go with the Jets here. I think they get the win. I think this could definitely be game of the week. I think this is another one of those you look and say, Jets win by 13. It could be a way closer game than that. But I'm going to give New York the win. Garrett Wilson, I think, is going to go off in this game. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, with all those weapons he brought over from Green Bay. And that Jets front seven, I would not be wanting to mess with that. Sauce Gardner is definitely one of the top up-and-coming cornerbacks in the NFL. I think he could very well solidify himself into that top 5 status this year. And I'm going to give them the win. I think Buffalo could very well take a step back. It feels like the window might have shut for them. And there's a little bit of controversy there too. You haven't heard much about the Stephon Diggs situation in the last few weeks, but there is that itch you get that he might not want to be there. And if that is the case, that is no doubt going to hurt Buffalo this year. But I think the Jets, with all they've done this offseason, I think it's enough to come out and get a week 1 win. So that does it for week 1 picks. Let me know what you think. Maybe you can drop your picks in the comments. Obviously, some controversial picks. But hey, it's week 1. As I've said, upsets happen week 1. You don't know what to expect this week. That is what I'm going to say. Take everything, all these picks, whatever picks I make throughout the season with a grain of salt. But especially week 1. Because I could be absolutely right. I could be absolutely wrong. I could be somewhere in the middle. Who knows? But one way or another, football is back. I am pumped. You should be pumped too. I'm ready for the Falcons to kick off this Sunday. I'm ready for football to be back. I'm ready to get back. And I got to be honest, man. It doesn't, honestly, with how fast these past few weeks have flown by, it feels so surreal to think this is being recorded right now, Tuesday evening. It feels so surreal. We're literally 48 hours away from kickoff. So, with that being said, it's time to play ball, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm out.